Parents have read it. What do your kids think they're being all slick and sneaky about, but you know all about it? Story 1. Not a parent, but I'm working in a kindergarten for the summer as a kindergarten teacher. One of my students, 5 years old, carries with him this picture of his 7-year-old brother Drew. He keeps hiding it in his pocket and keeps looking at it when we don't see it. Like he goes into the toilet and while he is pooping, he takes the pic out of his pocket, looks at it, and puts it back. When we have naps, he hides it under his pillow and looks at it when we don't see. This is the first time that his big brother is not in kindergarten with him because he's at preschool. And we had a substitute yesterday and she yelled at him. "Hey, what are you hiding?" I quickly stepped in and told her not to address it. They don't have the most stable home life, so that might be why he's so attached to his brother. Story 2. My son's bedroom recently moved to the basement of our small 2-story house. He thinks he's being sneaky by watching the television down there late at night or when he wakes up to go to the bathroom. He even turns it down really low and quiet. What he doesn't realize is that there's a vent right above the TV, which my room is directly above, and the connecting vent is right next to my bed. It's woken me up from a dead sleep twice now, and even with the sound down like he has it, it kind of echoes. I thought about confronting him, but his summer just started and he's worked hard to improve his grades this year. Honestly, if that's the worst thing he's doing, I'll let it slide. Story 3. My son is making a book for his mom to tell her how much he loves her. He's still pretty young and learning how to read and write, so slowly, like over the course of the past couple of weeks, he'll bring a book up to an adult and ask them to help him read and then randomly ask, "Is the word amazing on this page? Where? Oh, can you help me find a story where they have that word? Oh, great, is that the word I'm pointing to?" Then he disappears for a few minutes and the cycle will start over with another word. Slowly, he's writing a book for her one word at a time. I know because I followed him one time recently and saw that he was writing something in a book, and then happened to check it out when he was asleep. So now I know his secrets, and he was up to about 2 pages, and it's really sweet. I don't know how much longer until he'll deem it finished, but I'm sure I'm the only adult who knows what's up. Story 4. When I was 17, I thought I was really sneaky coming home from smoking weed with my boyfriend and friends. My parents are old, and they technically won't know. They were in their early 40s. Until I go home late every night, go straight to my bedroom, and only come out to make some strange snack concoction, and my favorite was the cookie dough and fudge sandwiches together. Our living room and kitchen were kinda like one big room, so they had to try and not piss themselves as I snuck from my room to the kitchen. All while they watched and stood in the kitchen eating snacks and then crept back to bed to sleep. I actually thought I was sneaky as hell as well. For some extra fun, I'm 24 now and I've smoked weed with my dad and laughed about this. Story 5. That my son is gay. He pretends to be interested in girls, but I know he's gay. I'm just waiting for him to tell me. When the opportunity comes up, e.g. a TV or news story, I'll always make a point of saying to him and his sibling that I fully support their choices in life, whatever they may be, and they will always have a safe space in our house. I just hope he doesn't leave it too long because I don't want him to build up to be this huge thing that we won't agree with, and I don't want him to lose sleep over it because we're going to support him 100%. Story 6. I'm not a parent, but I know that my parents grow their own weed in the garage, and they have been for 2.5 years. My mom smokes it about 5 times a day everywhere around the house, so wherever I come home from school, I can always smell the slightest scent of weed in the air. I found out about it when it was the day of my 14th birthday party and I was looking for some measuring tape, so I went into the garage when then I stepped on a weed leaf and the incubator lights almost blinded me. Ever since then, I've sometimes caught my mom in the act of using her bong and my parents try to hide it as I come in. It's pretty hard not to notice the strong smell and the fact that she's done everywhere in the house. I think all the smoke has affected me too because pretty much daily at school all my friends think I'm really stoned. My parents didn't know I knew until a few months ago when I called them out in the brutal argument they were having about the way that the corn was cooked that night. Story 7. Not a parent, but I used to babysit, and this one girl sure thought that she had me. There was this sticker book that we were playing with, but when it was time to go to bed, she decided that unlike all the other books, this one went in her room, not on her shelf. Is that so, Monica? She had a bed that was raised up like a bunk bed with no lower bunk. There was a ladder up and a slide down. The bottom of the slide was a foot away from the bedroom door. I brushed her teeth and tucked her in and closed the door. I wait, and surely enough, not even after a full minute, kid patience, lol, you can hear her trying to quietly scoot down the slide. And you can hear her jammies on the plastic go shh, 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 As she goes, she gets to the bottom of the slide, ready to go to get the sticker book to continue playing with it instead of going to sleep. Monica, I was the exact same. I remember those tricks and I use them too. But you can't fool a fooler. I whip the door open and she spins around in shock and goes, "Boo!" She had gone and thrown the element of surprise right back in my face, and I almost played along in my panic. Was about to throw up my hands and go, "Ah, a ghost!" It was a pretty clever response to getting caught trying to spin it back on the adult to make it seem like this was part of their plan all along, but again, I was the baddest of kids and I knew the trick. Took the sticker book back to the living room shelf, much to Monica's severe disappointment, and I tucked her back in. Such a great kid, honestly. I re-met her like 10 years later and almost cried. She's so big now. What happened to my littlest buddy? Story 8. My daughter, 12, came and told me that her friend's mom said that they could have a sleepover at their house as long as I said it was okay. I gave her instant squinty eyes. I tried this trick when I was a kid too. But I told them it was fun and they went outside and I heard them whispering about how they just needed to convince the friend's mom now. I called my daughter back inside and explained that she was caught. She denied it and I laughed at her, telling her how I tried the same thing when I was her age. She sheepishly fessed up. I then proceeded to explain that it's a silly thing to try and be slick about because all they had to do was ask for a sleepover and I'd say yes. There was zero need to be shady about it. She apologized and asked if they could have a sleepover. I laughed again and said no because she tried to be slick and that's disrespectful. Next time, try being straight with me. That didn't work when I tried it on my dad either. Story 9. I thought I was so sneaky in high school. I would come home at curfew, run the water in the bathroom a bit, flush the toilet, and then turn my radio on low, I slept with it on, and then sneak out of my bedroom window. My bedroom faced the front of the house and was on the ground floor. I did this so much that my window screen wouldn't fit properly and kept falling off. Every time it fell off, I told my parents that the wind must have ripped it off during the night. Mom bought into the story. When I was in my 30s, my dad told me that he used to get up and watch me from the front window as I ran down the street and got into my friend's car. When I asked him why he never busted me, he said, you were an A average student and you never got brought home by the cops. If you had been, you would have been grounded until you were 35. I'm so not sneaky. Story 10. My adult son recently admitted that all of those headaches that he had in middle school weren't really headaches. He just had a lot of issues with school and didn't want to go. He apologized for lying. I asked if he ever noticed that I always let him stay home and often took us out to lunch when he miraculously felt better after the bus left. As long as he kept his grades at a tolerable level, I knew that he needed a mental health day and not a sick day. I did take him to the doctor to rule out anything serious, but when it became apparent that his problem was likely stress, I just tried to de-stress his life as much as I could and find non-school things that he could do to make more friends. Story 11. Not my child, but I'm doing teacher assistant jobs while getting my degree to be a teacher. Anyway, one of my students was a little girl who really liked bugs. We were outside and she kept on carrying something weird around. It was a handful of worms. I asked her what she was doing, and she asked to keep them as a pet. So I have to tell her that we can't, and she gets upset, stomps over to a bench, sits down, arms crossed, and pouting. Around the time to come back inside, I'm lining everyone up, and she's beaming, happy as a clam. She also won't take her hand out of her pockets, so I immediately realized she had pocketed the worms. After another talk, she finally put them back and stomped inside, fairly disgruntled. Hey guys, are you enjoying the video? If so, please press the like and subscribe button as it really helps out the channel and it means a lot. Anyway, back to the stories. Story 12. I'm a parent, but my kiddo hasn't tried to be really sneaky yet, so I'll share my own misguided shenanigans. I'm a twin, identical except for a scar on my lip. According to my grandmother, I would often try to claim my sister's snack after finishing my own, cleverly covering my mouth with my hands and asking for a snack. Flawless plan, except when my grandmother would tell me that I'd already had my snack, I'd reply, I'm not me, I'm my sister. Story 13. Not the parent, but the kid. My parents are extremely prone to embarrassing kids or making jokes when they find out about one of my or one of my siblings' romantic endeavors. It's certainly not a but it just makes us all uncomfortable and makes us not want to talk to them about it. I've continued this trend, but since I don't have a car, I'll usually have to get rides with them to dates. Every single time I've said I'm going out with a few friends and thought they'd believed it. Freaking nope. I eventually realized that they just knew when my dad picked me up from the flag football game that a girl invited me to watch. I had said that a friend invited me, and he said, "Isn't flag football just for girls?" Then they mentioned all the dates that I had been on that year. It doesn't really matter, but I just thought of myself as more discreet than I was. Story 14. I was the sneaky kid. When I was around 8 years old, I wanted to get glasses to look cool. I came up as a nerd since childhood. The problem was that I had perfect vision, so I faked bad vision. I would constantly complain of my headaches and that I couldn't see what the teacher would write on the blackboard. All fake. My parents took me to an ophthalmologist and they got me fake glasses, without any diopters, and my problems were all gone. Until this day, I had no idea how they knew, and I thought that I was doing great on my deception. Of course, I did not like to actually use the glasses, and I dropped them eventually, claiming that I was miraculously cured. Story 15. Hoarding dum-dums under the bed. They're 5 and 3, and whenever they pull over the top chore duty, they get a dum-dum. Sometimes the wrappers come off instantly, and they revel in the glory of the moment. The others, as discovered while cleaning their rooms, go into neat piles underneath the 5-year-old's beds. He has this and she has hers, and I have no idea if they're just sugar peppers working on some kind of preschool black market, or just looking for a quick fix at nap time, but those little freaks are up to something. Story 16. Our baby girl is just 14 months old, but she already tries to be a sneaky bee. We've got a balcony where I have flower beds that hold different kinds of plants like blueberries, a few herbs, and some pretty flowers for the missus. I've secured the balcony so nothing bad can happen with our baby girl out there. So every now and then she sneaks out onto the balcony, mostly when she feels safe and unwatched, and punches my flowers. Not the herbs, not the blueberries, nope, the flowers. I've lost 4 lavender plants to that little secret, but to be honest, I find it pretty funny, so I just let her keep doing it. Story 17. My daughter is only just a year old. She knows she isn't supposed to pull things off the indoor clothes hanger we use when it's too wet or late to put the washing up outside. I saw her yesterday trying her hardest to hang a t-shirt back up, which she has neither the coordination nor the height to do. She walked away quite satisfied for the most roughed-up shirt hangling down from the lowest line. I let her have that one. Story 18. Just about anything. My oldest is now 23 and tried getting a lot of crap from us without noticing. He failed miserably and is at the top of his class. His mother used to drink frat guys under the table and is as smart as a surgical scalpel, and I had to outwit my parents all the time. Because of our past, we have been lenient parents, to an extent, of course. Our youngest are 13 and 11. They have their work cut out for them. My wife and I are a good combination. She's a field tech and very up-to-date with technology, and I can build and install just about anything that I have the time and tools for. It's just better to be upfront with us. It'll get you farther. It will be an endless battle as I was a handful for my mother, but I am prepared. I'm aware that things will just slip by, and I've learned this listening to my oldest around the bonfire recently. It's all just part of raising kids, though. Story 19. I don't know if my husband knows, but there is a strict no texting boys policy in this house. She's almost 13. And I found out about 3 months ago that our daughter has been using Snapchat on her iPod to talk to her male friends for about 6 months now. It's not a rule in our house as I grew up with mostly male friends and I left the decision to tell her dad up to her. His rule is that at 13, she can text whoever she'd like and I feel close enough. Like, if you can't trust her to text her friends regardless of then he shouldn't be trusting her with the more mature things he does. She also swears like me when she doesn't know that I can hear her. Story 20. My younger son has autism. He's 5 and he's doing brilliantly, although being discreet or sneaky is not his strong suit. Every time he's about to do something that he knows is wrong, he'll put his hands behind his back and do a super exaggerated casual walk over to whatever mischief is about to go down. He just can't lie because it makes no sense to him, but on the rare occasion that he tries, I just ask him to stick out his tongue if there were any lies in his mouth. He thinks that he's being clever by keeping his mouth firmly shut. God, I love him so much. Story 21. Left our 16-year-old home alone for the weekend. We knew full well that he'd have a party. Turns out he had one on Friday night, go Raptors, and quite a doozy on Saturday night, too. We've hidden our valuables, and I took a photo of my booze cabinet. His friends are all good. Nothing was stolen and no booze was taken. Placement and angle and volume levels were still intact. And a bit of extra damage, but I billed my son for that. Growing up, my wife and I both had been to many parties, so we knew the gig. Story 22. When my sister and her best friend told me that they wanted to smoke pot, I did it with them for the first time so they knew what to expect, and I could tell them everything that they needed to know about it. We told my parents that we were camping in the backyard and set up a tent. We went to 7-Eleven and got a bunch of snacks, and I had some pot, Southern California, and we smoked. It was all fine, and we went to sleep. The next morning, I woke up and opened the tent to see my dad sitting right outside. He asked us if we have the munchies, and of course, my sister and her friend freaked out. I asked him how he knew, and he said that he had an idea of what we were doing, so he watched us. He said that he saw the tent light up from the lighter and heard coughing shortly after. We totally thought that we got away with it, but my parents are always one step ahead because they did the same thing when they were our age. Story 23. Eating things that she wasn't supposed to. I'd tell her no chips before dinner and she would just sneak a bag into her room and eat them. She would then throw the bag away in our kitchen garbage right on top and wonder how I caught her. What she was good at was checking pills. She's 24 now, but I'd still find pills on occasion. Did some remodeling last year and found a bunch from a prescription that she had when she was 10 that had been crammed under the baseboards. She hated swallowing pills. I found them in the furniture, in the air vents, in the window grooves, you name it. From how many I've found over the years, I doubt that she even swallowed half the pills I gave her. I still give her a bad time about it too. Tell her that she's not old enough for an abortion. Story 24. I didn't want to eat the rest of my food. Suddenly, I needed to go to the bathroom, taking my plate of food with me. I think I also dumped it into the bathroom trash can instead of down the toilet while flushing the evidence. I was confounded when my mom saw through all my extreme cleverness. I must have been about 4 or 5 and don't remember all the details perfectly, but I think it was trying to get rid of a bunch of half pieces of cherry pie, which I thought was vile. I'm also fairly sure looking back that at least half of my jerking from age 11 to 16 was pretty obvious, but my uncle and aunt were just too embarrassed to say anything except for in 1 or 2 egregious cases. Ironically, at an earlier age, I got in trouble for jerking when I wasn't. I had a stomach ache and the waist of my underwear felt too tight, so I pulled it down when I got into bed. When the covers were unexpectedly flipped down and my 8-year-old wiener was exposed, I got in all kinds of trouble for being Satan's spawn or something. I only just had a stomach ache and my undies just made it hurt worse. Being accused and punished for things you didn't do as a kid has to be one of the first realizations about unfairness in life. Story 25. I'm the kid. So we've all gone through that phase around puberty where we hadn't discovered straight up porn and whacking it, but we were super horny. This means looking up some weird stuff on YouTube and Google. Anyway, I wasn't allowed to have my own Google account, but I was logged into my dad's on the tablet and we shared it. No big deal, right? Well, I hadn't discovered incognito, or I realized that my dad could see my, deviant watch history. Also, Google did the stupid recent tabs thing where it would show you what you looked up in the last 24 hours, even if you cleared your history. So I was showing my parents every attempt I made to find softcore porn on YouTube and Google Images. Ouch. Story 26. My kids build these gigantic constructions in our backyard and their sister always tries to tell on them. But it always disappears before we can get out there, but little does she know that I know all about it, so does my husband. My kids know what they're doing, like come on, did you really think that I can't see a roller coaster? And don't get me started on the electric bill. Phineas and Ferb, by the way?